So, before lunch, Jason, Riley, and Kanaya told us that a parallelogram is always a rectangle because both figures have two sets of sides that are equal length to each other. So a parallelogram is always a rectangle because both figures have two sets of sides that are equal, or that equal length to each other. So some of you had thumbs up, some of you had thumbs down. If you had a thumbs down, please raise your hand. So they said a parallelogram is a rectangle, always. A parallelogram is a rectangle because both figures have two sets of sides that are equal length of each other. Okay, I'm going to show you a parallelogram. If their statement is a parallelogram is always a rectangle, Brian, is this shape a parallelogram? Adrian, why? Do all parallelograms have to have 4 equal sides? It has two sets of parallel lines. Jason, please stay with your group. It has two sets of parallel lines. Kanaya and Riley, I hope you're listening. Okay? So here's a parallelogram. So based on what they're saying, this is also a rectangle. Deltrinique, is this a rectangle? This is a rectangle? This shape? No, why not? It's what? It's leaning? Is that what you said? You said it's leaning. What do we know about the angles of rectangles, Christopher? Corey, please sit down. Jason? I'm sorry, hold on. There are some people being disrespectful to you.
Yes, ma'am.
In your answer that you are giving. So, Christopher is going to give his answer. Again, he was telling us about the angles of rectangles. Christopher, what do we know about the angles of rectangles? They all are what angles? 90-degree angles. So, is this parallelogram a rectangle?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not. It's not a rectangle.
Let's see if I can find a rectangle. Yeah, dude. Thank you, sir. All right. So I have some people telling me that that's a rectangle.
No, it's not.
Christopher just told us that a rectangle has 4 90-degree angles.
Yes, true.
If I wanted to see if that was 90 degrees, I could use something with a flat surface. This blue square might not be the best. So if I look at this angle is obtuse. It is cubic. If you look at the whole thing, this angle right here is obtuse. These two are acute, Brian, because they are less than 90, but those two are obtuse. So if I lay this flat like this, if it was a right angle, it would go straight up. So, then I have this. Is this a rectangle?
Yeah.
Jayla, your eyes are up here. Is this a rectangle?
Yes.
Yes. Why is this a rectangle, Riley? What makes it a rectangle? One thing. Has 4 right angles. Jason, what makes this a rectangle? Riley just said 4 right angles. So what else?
Equal sides.
What about the sides, though? Because these 4 sides are not the same length. What about parallel? Parallel what? Okay, so they're parallel. Let's get the rest of the words out. He's given us bits and pieces. Kiara? Opposite sides are parallel. Corey, is that what you're going to say?
No.
What were you going to say? Say that 4 right angles? So we have 4 right angles. Opposite sides are parallel. And what else? Someone mentioned the length. What about the length, Stephon? Length is not degrees, Montrell. We've hit 2 sets of parallel lines. Trey. Good night. Jayla?
It has 2 sides of the same length and 2 opposite sides of the same length.
Opposite sides are the same length. So, here's a parallelogram. A parallelogram has 2 sets of parallel sides. Okay? A parallelogram is a rectangle. They've said always. You all have told me that this is a parallelogram. So, is this parallelogram a rectangle?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
This parallelogram is a rectangle.
No.
I mean,
Never.
Yes.
Never.
Alright.
Always.
Listen.
All you have to say is no.
It
Never.
Listen, please.
Sometimes.
What'd you say?
Sometimes
Sometimes what?
it can be a rectangle.
A parallelogram can sometimes be a rectangle?
Yes.
In what instance or what case? What would have to be true for a parallelogram to be a rectangle?
I was gonna say right angles. But
Right angles.
Oh.
That would be correct because you know rectangles have right angles. We've just said that.
Opposite
Nice.
sides. Opposite sides.
Are
And they both get. They both.
those are triangles. But that's a good vocabulary word to know. Jason was telling us about the lines, Brian. They're parallel, like in a parallelogram. But for a parallelogram to be a rectangle, it has to hit on what Jason said first. Right angle. So he fixed it. So Jason, come fix this up here. Cross out always. Encircle what you said. A parallelogram is sometimes a rectangle. So fix your, a parallelogram is, so where you say is always, is sometimes. A rectangle. Okay, and why did we say a parallelogram is sometimes a rectangle? When, what?
Because both get right angles.
When a parallelogram has 90 degree angle. So, he's going to finish writing that. Alright? What I need you to do, please, is make sure your group's name is on your paper.
Yep, thanks for all your work.